being on both sides of relationships, I always tell people that it's not a romantic comedy, it's more of a reality. And what I mean is it's almost like the grind, like whatever you do in your job, or whether you work for a company or you have your own business, you have to get up, you have to get dressed, you have to make the effort to make things happen. And that's the exact same way that your relationship is, because it's sometimes you may have it on autopilot, but for the most part, you have to make sure that you're actively getting up every day. Relationship is more of a choice than a luxury. You have to choose to get up and do what you need to do so things will work for you. And it's tough because sometimes relationships fall by the wayside when, life gets in the way. Because when you're first dating, when you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibilities, then, that's where you can put most of your focus. But a relationship is kind of like a child. And as that child starts to grow and evolve, when you go from, okay, we're just dating each other, to now we're, we decided to commit to each other. Okay, now we're moving in with each other and things are changing. It's like, it comes a time where life can easily get in the way, and it's not an intentional consequence, but you can wind up unintentionally neglecting your partner's needs. Because I've definitely been in that situation where, I'll be so focused on making sure that the bills are going to be paid for the month, and I just get into this, we can get into this pattern where it's like you just kind of speak to each other in passing.
That's a good point.
And it's like hi and bye, and you have to stay outside of your comfort zone when it comes to relationships, in my opinion, because when you start to get comfortable, you start to get complacent, and then that's when the issues come about. And even if you've been dating somebody for months, years, whatever the case, I say that always be in the mindset like you're dating. Never go out of that dating mindset, because it's easy for life to get in the way, and the next thing you know, you're not really speaking to each other. Not that anything's wrong, but it's like okay, the relationship's good, so I'm gonna put some focus over here. And it's so important to take time to yourself and assess your situation and make sure that you don't get burnt out.
Yeah, that's right. That's
because
good. Good.
when you work all day and then you come home, you have to put in work in both places. So it's almost like your day ends on the work side, but it begins on the relationship side. Because a relationship is like a living thing in its own. You have to breathe life into it the same way you breathe life into your career, or you breathe life into your other friendships with your peers and things like that. And I say it's kind of like a snowball effect. The way I see it, because earlier when Steve mentioned that, first the people at work might notice, and it might be that coworker, they maybe not necessarily be the title, but just for context, it could technically be that work wife or that work husband. And it's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And it's like, yeah, sure, what's up? And the way it's almost like it's like a mountain, and the snow is starting to fall on the mountain. And then it's like, hey, you haven't been yourself lately, for the past, couple weeks, couple months, whatever, what's going on? And then the snow, it's like a snow. The snow starts to fall, and then it evolves. And the next thing you know, you start to get lunch together, and you just have conversations. And it's not even that you're having a trauma dump or anything, or you're just, you just talk about your problems, but you just talk about life. And you just realize that, you're having a good time with this person, and you don't think about it. It's really subconscious more than anything. And you realize that some things can be more energy. Some things drain your energy, but some things can always give you energy. And when you have those conversations with people, it's like sometimes you realize, like, man, I feel energized. Me and such and such just had a conversation, and I feel like I can conquer the world.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you might talk to people, and it's like after that conversation, it's like, dude, I need a drink. I need some time to myself. I'm turning my phone off. I don't want to even think about another human being for the next hour or two because I am drained. And it's almost like over time, just like that snow on the mountain, it starts to accumulate, and then as it falls, the issue just kind of grows into like a snowball, and it's just like one thing just leads to another. And it's not even, like Steve said earlier, it's not that you're trying to replace your partner. It's just that you're heard. And a lot of times in relationships, it can get to a point the comfortability sets in, and the comfort, it's almost like a masking tape or something like a mask that you put over your face, and it unintentionally silences your needs. And when you speak, it's almost like listening to somebody talk on a TV or something, and you hit the mute button, and you're talking to them, but they just don't hear you, and your needs are speaking to them. And I've definitely been there, because as men, what women may not realize is we're natural problem solvers. Like when we come home, we might see some dishes in the sink, and it's like, you know what? Let me go ahead and take care of that real quick. Or, the laundry might be building up. So it's like, okay, I took a couple minutes to myself after, before I stepped in the house. Let me take care of that real quick. And oftentimes our mentality, it's not that it necessarily takes over the responsibilities, depending on how your relationship is set up, but we wind up unintentionally spoiling women in a way, because especially in a situation where you may live together, and the next thing you know, not only are we paying the bills, but we're also doing the little household stuff, and we don't even think about it, because it's just one of those things where it's like, oh well, this is only gonna take me a couple minutes in between whatever you got going on. Let me take care of it. But then once you multiply that over months and weeks and so on and so forth, it gets to a point where you start to realize, like, the appreciation turns into expectation. And
that's good.
The thing is, a lot of people, it's not that they intentionally take you for granted, but it's just once you get used to pouring into somebody so much, it gives them it kind of sets an expectation for them to expect it versus you just doing it and they appreciate it. And I love how you said earlier when you mentioned it's just like going out to dinner. We don't mind paying for dinner, but it's the thought that counts. It's like, what? Even if you're pretending to reach into your purse, and it's just like, you know what? Cool. Because the biggest thing, the appreciation, just common courtesy and appreciation, a little bit goes such a long way, especially in relationships. And people, you definitely want to try not to let life overshadow your relationship. And you want to understand the person that you're with and communicate with them, because even then, outside of that, people, everyday things change. We're introduced to new information. People are evolving. People are growing. Our taste buds change. Our preferences change. The things we may or may not like to do change as we get older and as we grow. And especially in relationships, it's no different. The things that you may have been into when you first started dating, it may have changed a little bit, and mindsets have changed, and ideas and beliefs. So I call them updates. And I say, when you are with somebody and that's part of breathing life into the relationship, because you want to make sure that you're also keeping up with the updates, just like your phone. You want to keep your phone updated so it can work properly. So when you need to execute those basic functions, then it works properly. So you definitely, it's really the small details. And a lot of times people, it's easy to get focused on the big picture, but you definitely, I say, always be in the mindset of dating. Because when you're dating, everything is new, it's more of you're focused on everything from the big picture to the small details, and
so you're keeping things fresh
Absolutely.
while dating. When you're dating, you're keeping things fresh, and I guess, sometimes, when you're in in our relationships, it's just it's like food. You don't want the milk to go bad. You want to be able to enjoy the milk till, and drink it and enjoy it, whether you drink it or put in your cereal or oatmeal or whatever you're going to do with it. But you want it to be fresh consistently and constantly. And you don't want things to get stale. And anything that's stale is bad. Bread is bad when it's stale, and people are bad when they're stale. Relationships are bad when they're stale. So, you made some excellent points. I mean, and we have to keep in mind, life is not complicated. We make life complicated. And not just life, but relationships and us as men, we're very simple creatures. It's kind of that, we really don't need a whole lot. So if a man expresses that he needs something, you really need to pay attention, because again, we're simple. If you're married, or whatever, and we really are just kind of, hey, just feed me and fuck me. That's amongst a couple of other things. I mean, but we're simple. But we need to be able to talk. And when you're communicating, with that woman, you got to also know who you're communicating with.
Yes.
Because, however she's communicating 3 years later, she probably was communicating very similarly to that when you all first started dating. So you got to pay attention, and that's on both sides, men and women. We got to pay attention. If there are some red flags in the relationship when you first start dating, what we do is we ignore those red flags and expect for them to turn green. And we don't address those red flags. I got a buddy that, 2 weeks ago said that, he used to be able to talk to his fiance. They're supposed to be getting married next year. And he said that something really turned him off last week. He says, I plan for her right now. She's already my best friend. And when we get married, we solidify that. But she's already my best friend. And he said, what I noticed, he said, we don't argue much. He said, but we had an argument a couple weeks ago that was a little outside the normal disagreement we have. We typically have disagreements, but not really arguments. He said, and when they started arguing, he said that in the middle of the argument, she threw something up at him to hurt him that he had talked with her about as a part of him opening up and communicating. He said that made him mad as hell. He said, bruh, it took everything I had. He said, because nobody had ever pushed that button, because I never uncovered that button for someone to push, because I have never opened up to a woman the way I've opened up to her. And he said, so for her to throw that back in my face as something to hurt me during our argument showed me something a little different. And he said, and this happened 2 weeks ago. And he said, and this is still in the back of my mind. So I said, well, don't just let it stay in the back of your mind. You need to talk about it, because you need to let her know, first of all, this wasn't cool to do. I confided in you because you even came to me and said, hey, open up. You don't talk to me enough. I need us to communicate more. She told me, hey, I want to be there for you. And he said, so after a year and a half of dating, and I finally decided to open up about some things that bothered me literally from my past that I didn't want to take forward with you and I as one. So I wanted to start working on this stuff now before we got married. And he said, and when she brought some of that stuff up, he said, it made me look at her differently. And he said, as of today, I want my ring back.
Wow.
So, you know, it hit him that hard. And now his approach now is almost like, not only do I not want to get married, but I'll never open up again to another woman. And see, and that's what happens. So now, you know, hopefully they'll remain together. But if they don't, the next woman actually will wind up paying for the transgressions of this woman. So it happens with men. We go into relationships, and some of the baggage that women bring with them, it had nothing to do with us, but we pay for the sins that the previous man or men committed against her, and then we have to deal with it. He's so, you know, so we really, you know, communicating is one of the most important things, not just in a relationship, but just in life, period. Because everybody has to communicate. People who know each other, whether you're strangers, family, non-family, we all have to be able to communicate and talk. So I kind of go back to the original reason, you know, or the original topic from the podcast, from, you know, conversation I was having, you know, with my buddy. You know, I didn't give any what I would consider advice. I just stated that he needed to really think about his next move before he made it. Because, you know, we're not so much on the emotion side. However, if you do catch us making decisions that are emotionally based, we're not the most stable individuals, because that's not our platform. We're not emotional beings. But if you ever get us to get into that field of being emotional and we make decisions while we're emotional, most of those decisions are not good decisions. So I told him, just think about it. Think about it. Talk to your wife. Take this weekend out in the mountains. Go light a fire out back. Get the fire going on the inside. And just talk. Sit down. Pour you a glass of bourbon. Smoke you a stick. Make her a couple of mimosas or red wine or some, you know, and if you need her to really, you know, see if she's listening, you might want to make her a strong margarita, top it off with some Grand Marnier, and loosen her up a little bit. Because, you know, hey, they say a, you know, person who's had a few drinks, they really tell you how they're really feeling. So you may want to, you know, y'all may want to have a few drinks so you can both really kind of let it out. You know, not that that's the right approach. But, you know, I just kind of threw that out there to kind of lighten it up for him, because the conversation had gotten a little too serious. And I didn't want him leaving my house mad, walking back into going in his garage and going through the front door pissed off. I wanted him to kind of look at things from a lighter side, and which we accomplished that. And so, you know, he even took a couple of cigars from me, and I even gave him a bottle and said, here, man, it's a bottle of bourbon, man. And this, you know, you take this and you guys can, you know, just go kick it. So they're going to go up Friday. They're actually going to go up early Friday. So they'll be there all day Friday and all day Saturday, and they're coming back Sunday morning. And he said, hey, man, I'll give you a report when I get back. You know, I said, I hope it's a good one. You know, and I said, and if you feel like during the conversation that you guys are having, if you're feeling heated, back up, take a few steps back, take a few deep breaths, and likely, and for her as well, if she doesn't know how to step back, you still be the man and step back. Pull back and tell her, hold on, conversation's going in the wrong direction. Let's take a couple minutes. You walk out back, I'm gonna walk out front. Let's come back in 5 minutes. Let's regroup, and we're gonna come back. But you gotta make sure that she understands, because you love her that much, you wanna make sure that this conversation is the last one that you'll have to have regarding the issues that you all are having. You wanna get those issues resolved. because one small problem leads to a larger problem. It's just like your car. If you don't get that small problem fixed, something else that relies on that small part breaks down. And it's the same thing that can happen in your relationship. So hopefully, on our next couple of episodes, I'll be able to kind of give you an update to kind of tell you what happened, how things turned out for he and his wife. I even told him, his son is real cool and he thinks he can beat me in basketball, and even with this jacked up knee I have, I may have to go over there and tear his little ass up. And at the end of the day, we want to be able to give you guys the brighter sides of conversations. We like to take the things that are dark and we want to put light on them, and not kind of light in terms of exposing. We want to bring light to make things better. The world is too dark right now. We got to have conversations that are ones that are going to be helpful to people. We ain't talking about gossiping and all this other stuff, and it's about substance.
Yes.
It's just we're bringing you a meal and not a dessert. Even though the dessert may taste the best, it's not the best for you. So hey Solo, if you got any words, man, before we sign off, hey man, I appreciate you sitting here with me. And man, we in this for the long haul, bro. So again, we're gonna be talking about things from A to Z. We'll be having other guests come in and kind of mix it up with us. I got a guest that I know, she's been waiting. I've already, she's been waiting to get on a podcast with me because she has a whole different approach to life. She brings a whole different view, and so it's gonna really be an exciting ride to take, and we hope that we pick up more passengers on our bus as we travel and make this journey, and hopefully one day we'll be getting texts and WhatsApps and emails from people all over the world who are saying, hey man, I listen to your podcast, man. It's pretty cool. It's pretty informative. It's, some of it's going to be informative. Some of it's going to be educational. Some of it is going to be funny. Sometimes it may get a little raunchy, but not raunchy in the negative way. Sometimes you got to be raunchy just to really make sure that people understand what you're saying. We're going to be talking about, the entertainment industry. We'll be talking about life. We'll be talking about sex. We'll be talking about health. We'll be talking about education. We'll be talking about the economy. We'll be talking about investing. We'll be talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about everything that you can imagine. We're going to even shout out businesses, local businesses here, who offer great services, who offer great products. We got to expose these companies in the right way, and we got to get people going to them and spending their dollars there. We take our money everywhere else, but we have some people who, they offer good services. They offer excellent products. Customer service is excellent, and we got to shout these companies out. We got to put them out there and put them on the map, and we got to have people that are going to appreciate the customer. We always talk about, black businesses, it's always something negative, but I use black businesses and services that are excellent. So there are some excellent ones out there. So, we'll talk about them, and if, I've had experience with some bad ones, we're going to talk about that one too. But at the end of the day, we have got to do better. We'll be talking about things that we can do to help some of our local elementary schools. We have kids walking around in the wintertime with no coats. That's a problem. We have kids walking around with no paper, no pencils, no book bags. That's a problem. The bare minimum, the bare essentials that are needed for a child to be able to learn and to be educated, we gotta help these kids if they don't have it. And especially us as men, we gotta step it up. I know there are a lot of you. I know myself, a lot of men who are out here doing it every day, not just for themselves, but even for people they don't know. Specifically, our young children that are in our elementary schools and our inner cities. We have got to step up to the plate and hit home runs for these kids. They need to know that there are men out here who care for them, who love them, who are concerned about their well-being. And they need to understand, hey man, you do not have to run with a bunch of knuckleheads. You don't have to get out here and do these dumb TikTok challenges of stealing cars. You don't have to get out here, man, enjoying games, because it's gonna wind up getting you killed. And so we as men, we gotta step it up. We have to step it up and do what we can. And and also we gotta help our young women too. Because these women need to be educated by the men as well, because again, who can teach a woman better about the games that are being run out here in the streets than men? We have to be able to help these young girls, man. These young girls are getting out here with these knuckleheads. They getting pregnant, having babies at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and it's just not working. So we got to come up with ways. We're going to all discuss these things. Like I said, we don't know week to week what we're going to discuss, but I promise you, whatever it is we discuss, it's going to be great. So, hey, we welcome you. We thank you for listening. My man Solomon here, I appreciate you sitting in with me, my brother.
I appreciate you.
Hey, man, and I look forward to the ride, man. And until the next episode, we're going to sign off. Peace.